Our Earth, our irreplaceable home for all of humanity. But here, in the mid-20th century, something terrible happened that still threatens us all. I lived right next to what is now the A-bomb dome. I'm going to tell you what happened. As a filmmaker and one of the last survivors, I feel called to this mission by a higher power. Here is where my family rests, deep under the soil. Here, too, is where we lived our completely ordinary lives. Our traditional Japanese house had a large living room that looked out over a garden. Beyond the garden was the Hiroshima Industrial Promotion Hall, now the A-bomb dome. I'd been evacuated to the countryside, so I was spared. I came back 2 days after the bombing, looking for my family. I walked right into the hypocenter area, so I was exposed to residual radiation. This is the hypocenter area today, but I'm going to show you what it was before the bombing, so you can see what we lost. I want you to see what kind of houses stood here, the people who lived in them, and how they spent their days. I spent years piecing all this together, based on my own memory and the testimony of other surviving residents. First, I'll show you that morning, 70 years ago. It was a Monday, and it came in without a cloud in the sky. Under that blue sky, workers made their way to work, while housewives, the elderly, and little children stayed home. Not one had any idea of what was about to happen. The drop and the explosion. Survivors have drawn pictures of the hell they experienced. The heat and blast peeled their skin right off. Eyeballs and internal organs popped out, characteristic effects of the atomic bombing. Near the hypocenter, thousands of corpses were charred black or reduced to white skeletons. Many survivors rushed into the rivers, desperate for water, and died to be floated down the rivers.
B29 が高く走っていました。パッと明るくなって、でここから光がパチパチパチパチっと走って
ピカッと本当に頭の上に太陽が落ちてきたんじゃないかってね、もうすっごい光線でもう目も開けられないぐらいの光線だったことだけは覚えてるんですけど、
窓ガラスが壊れて殺人光線が当たりましたからね。数万度の火の3000度4000度ですから、みんな黒焦げずるずるドロドロになってガラスが去ってね。
逃げようがないですからね。いきなり来るんで、予告も何にもなしにいきなり来ますしね。で全部の殺戮ですからね。
真っ裸の人が髪が真っ逆さまに立ったまんまで赤ちゃんを抱いて座ってるのが、生きてるか死んでるかわからないよ。動かないんじゃけ、真っ裸のまんまで。
おい、助けてくれ、助けてくれ、あいつが集まるとんじゃいても誰も助けてくれ。そうしったら瓦礫で、連なってる瓦礫の向こうから火が燃え出して、だんだんその火がこっち来る。お父さん、お母さん、おきめさん、助けて、助けに来てくれ。
その火のポ一面がしないが焼ける。火のというの本当ポッポッポッポッポッポ言うんですね。
助けて助けてでも助けるもんがおらんわけよね。ほじきとうとうそこの旦那がね、なたもって足首を切ってね、連れて逃げようちゃったかね。
下敷きになった人がたくさんおりましてね、それをね7、8人助けましたね。
上半身黒系のちょうど階段の踊り場あたりに遺体があったもんですから、確認したらお父さんだということは分かった言うんで。
母と弟と妹がね3人だけあって、家で真っ黒で亡くなっていたのを聞いて、
もうあれ見たらもう地獄ですね。あら、これが地獄いうかのなんですよ。私はもう死んだろう。ほうたらね、前を見られて川ですけどね、川に馬が流れたり人間が流れたりしよるんですよ。
ブルーの炎なんです。人間内臓を焼けて、あそこもあそこもあそこも下敷きで焼けた人がポロポロポロポロ、これくらいの炎で。
自分の親やら兄弟やら同級生やら、同級生は我々 80% 死んだわけですからね。で焼かれたら焼かれて死んだわけですからね。
人間が真っ黒のもうドロドロのやけどで、女の人の頭の髪の毛ばっとみんな逆立ちになって、みんなずるずるに焼けただれたね皮膚がこうぶら下がってね、
もうそれ見るのも恐ろしいような怪我に、皮膚がもうボロ切れの、背中が真っ赤っかなような人とか、目にこうなんか突き刺さったような人とか、血がだらだら流れる人とか、
たくさんの人たちが狂ってますね、叫んでますね。とってもかわいそうで見ていられない。
この間地獄ですよ。なのまだ私はその焼けた子でも丸焼け、パッと一瞬に焼けたからね、怪我がない、抹茶色みたいな皮膚が。
私髪の毛が抜けたんです。左が半分で、こうしたらポロポロポロっと髪が毛がなくって、あらと思ったんですね。そしてから顔が焼け出したんでしょうね。なかなか目が開かないんです。
骨がずらずらっと並んでたから、あ、これは疑いようもない親父のだって。おふくろは 1階へおったのか2階におったんか知らんけど、こう座ったような状態で、もちろん真っ黒焦げですかね。
お姉さんはおそらく即死だろうということで、もうお母さんも即死だろうというで、声が聞こえたのは妹の声だけだったんです。熱いよ助けてっていうのがあったんだから、もう結局助けられなかったという。
The black rain from the mushroom cloud was highly radioactive.
赤になり白になり黒になりむくむくむくむく、全然音がしなくて、音がしないまま頭の上でむくむくむくむくむくむく雲が舞ってたんですよね。
雨が降ったんです。黒い雨です。でそれを飲んでね、ほっとしてね、その黒い雨を飲んでみんなバタバタと死んでいきましたよね。私もそのまま意識をなくしたんです。
みんな動けないから道路に倒れたまんま黒い雨に打たれてしまって、で私たちもまあ肩やらが足の方も黒い雨にね打たれてしまって、で3日間ぐらい取れませんでしたね。
Even after 70 years, the terrifying memory of the atomic bombing never fades. Born as a castle town 400 years earlier, Hiroshima developed its own unique culture and traditions. It flourished as the most important city in Western Japan until a single atomic bomb crushed and burned it to the ground. This is our city, just before the bombing. The T-shaped Aioi Bridge was the bombardier's target. That target was at the heart of our urban matrix. City government, the local economy, shops and restaurants, schools and homes where, despite the war, people were living relatively tranquil lives. Northeast of the hypocenter was a military base whose casualties will never be known. For example, how many injured soldiers back from the front were recuperating in its large army hospital? Japan had run out of arms and ammunition. Its loss was a virtual certainty. In addition to doctors and nurses, there were student assistants and family members who had come from all over Japan to tend to their loved ones. Countless ordinary people staying in or near that hospital were killed. Then there were the tens of thousands of new recruits conscripted from Western Japan that were undergoing basic training in that area. The Seibi School was an elementary school and kindergarten run by the army, but most of its students came from civilian families. Students who had just enrolled that April were excited about being there. In an environment that emphasized discipline, they were training their minds and bodies. Students had no summer vacation during wartime, so they were at school the day of the bombing. Everything within a kilometer of the hypocenter was completely destroyed.
Toにかく異様な光景だと。色がないっていうかね、黒、灰色でしょ。ね、瓦礫だからね。そしてとにかく遠くの方がね、はるか何キロか先までみんな見えたから。
当時兵隊さんが防空のために屋根に上がって飛行機をこう監視したりしてましたけどね、その兵隊さんの白骨ですね、燃えたお骨の中へ子供たちの、僕たちの同級生の骨が同心円状にこうなってありました。おそらくつむじ風が起こったんでしょうね、運動場の中で。
This department store near the school remained standing, so it became a relief station. A baby still nursing at its dead mother's breast. A young mother singing to her charred baby. The newspaper, the theater, any shell of a building that could keep out the rain was full of survivors. With neither medicine nor food, all they could do was wait for death. Before the bombing, this exciting entertainment district had a kabuki theater, a movie theater, and plenty of restaurants. We have to communicate the enormity of what we lost to the A-bomb. Main Street had shops for everything, from clothes and food to hardware and books. The shopkeepers lived in their shops, so whole families were wiped out, along with everything they owned.
家の周りは大劇場があったりね、福屋百貨店とか中国新聞とか大きな高層ビルがあるでしょ。あんなのがみんなめちゃめちゃに焼けただれてね、それじゃ新天地で帝国劇場というのは映画館だからそんなに白骨は死体がなかったが、新天だというのは実演で宝塚劇場ですからね、あそこにみんな寝泊まりしてたらしくて、ものすごいおびただしい白骨や死体があったですね、いっぱい。
Transportation was destroyed. People disappeared, leaving nothing but their shadows, etched in stone. The damage from this indiscriminate attack lies beyond all calculation. In this area were many elementary, junior high, and girls' schools. City Hall itself remained standing, but many died in and around it. Records were gone. City government ceased. South of the hypocenter, the Hiroshima prefectural office adjoined several very old neighborhoods. Near the imposing wooden building stood the prefectural assembly. the martial arts dojo for the police, and a 17th century garden built by a feudal lord. The prefectural hospital. All of this burned to the ground. Little is known about the victims' last moments or how many there were. After the war, the occupation authorities worked hard to minimize or even hide the extent of the damage. Nothing was left but the stone gate and burned ruins. The red light district never even raided a mansion. Southwest of the hypocenter was one of the largest adult entertainment districts in Western Japan. Geisha and call girls who worked there were masters of traditional Japanese song and dance or vaudeville-like performance. It was a center of high-class geisha culture, of which all record vanished. The only traces are found in graveyards for unknown Buddhas, located near temples. No one tends those graves. Northwest of the hypocenter, Hiroshima was born and prospered because of its rivers. Wood and most other necessities arrived by river. An enormous daily market spread out along the river. That day, as usual, the area was crowded from early in the morning. But it burned, leaving nothing. Here, too, we have no account of the casualties. Even as a castle town, our city of rivers depended on its bridges for transportation. River festivals always drew big crowds. Rivers offered the people a chance to rest. In summer, I always loved the evening river breeze. In summer, the rivers were full of people swimming, fishing, digging for shellfish, or playing in boats. Rivers were part of everyday life. After the bombing, I missed the rivers and tried swimming under the bridge I used to jump off. What I found there was death. The painter Goro Shikoku lost his brother to the bomb. By carefully depicting the lost games his brother played, he powerfully expressed his rage against the war. The atomic bombing not only killed our people, destroyed our way of life, and obliterated our city, it also erased our history and cultural traditions. Thousands of young girls were sacrificed to the bomb. Taken away from their studies, these mobilized students were sent to perform hard physical labor in factories or demolishing buildings for fire lanes. There is no good in war, and the A-bomb is absolute evil.
妹は建物疎開に小網道を行ってて行方不明。
道路を広げるためにそこにあった建物を、行政的といいますか倒してですね、でその後の材木などを整理したり。
6日はまたこの中心部の疎開の家倒しに広島中の中学生がみんな割り当てられていましたから、で私なんかの学校はちょうど壊した家の後の整理が受け持ちだったんですよね。
The evacuation of children into the mountains was extremely cruel. While we children were gone, something happened at home that none of us could have imagined. Evacuated children prayed to stone Buddhas as they waited for their families to come get them. Many simply waited and waited and waited. When summer turned to fall and no one came, all they could do was keep waiting in that farm that had suddenly become their permanent home. One of those little girls has turned 80. She still cannot put that pain into words. Day after day, by these stone steps, she waited and cried. Eventually, she gave up and became a child of the farm family she had been staying with.
もうとにかく帰るとこがないと。で家族もいないんだということでね、もうどうしたらいいんだろうかということでね、もう不安だらけでね、一晩中こう寝床の中で一緒に寝ながらね話を聞かされて泣いたばっかりおったんですけどですね、いつまでたってもね全然来んし、ずっと最後まで私は残っとったんですよね。
なかなか死んじゃったんよいうのは言うてなかったですね、先生も。お母さんがいつか来るかわからんいう思いと、やはり親が死んだいうことが一番ですね。
自分で生きにゃいけんいうのが辛かったですよね。原爆のことを聞かれたりいうのが大嫌いなんです。思い出したくない。それと今苦労されたですねいうね言葉がね一番答えるんです。
As painter Goro Shikoku pointed out, the real victims of war are children. orphans often became street children, polishing shoes in front of the station to survive. Standing outside eateries, all they could do was stare at the menu. Many A-bomb orphans became A-bomb elderly, never tasting the joys of family. When he was in junior high school, he wrote notes to himself. His grandmother who raised him died early. He was lonely, worried about his health, struggling to survive, and living day after day with no hope.
この手を見てください。この小指、この小指、この指、こういう形で見てたんじゃないかと思うんですね。
私なんか胸にやけどしてこれ見てください。これだけのケロイドですよ。皆勤賞。何が苦しかった悲しかったってやけどした痛さよりも兄がいなくなったこと、私を可愛がってくれてる人がいっぺんにいなくなったこと。
ガバーッと血の塊が出るん、口がこんにゃくみたいな塊ザーッと出るん、50。ほら1週間ぐらいしたらね、こういうなブツブツいった斑点が出る。ほいそれから今度は気が抜けて、もう1週間したらみんな死にようしちゃったね。
もう家族みんな髪は抜けるし、鼻から私こういうことがあるんだろうかと思うんですけどね。
こっち側が顔からで全部やけどしたんですね。
がんを2回もやったしね。弟も妹もがんをやって。
私兄弟皆ねがんですね。私が大腸がんをやって、弟が2つ違いですかね。これが初め胃がんをやって、これで肺がんやって、で姉は早く60前に死んだんですがね、これは大腸がんやって。
でピカと光ったらみんな黒焦げずるドロドロになって死ぬんだとね。から爆砲が来てみんな首がもげたり頭が飛んだりして死ぬし、からもう一つ立ち悪いのが放射線や放射能ですよ。何の無傷だと思っても強烈な放射線や放射能や放射線でみんな血を吐いてね、白血病になって死んでいくんだからと。
結婚という時にあの時広島におったものはみんな放射能に汚染されていると。あんたと結婚させたら障害を持った子が生まれると言ってね、断られたんです。
ケロイドがひどいですからね、こんなに。でこれ手術してもらったんです。幅が広かったから20針から縫ってね、幅を狭くして、でここ結婚話が出た時にあれが一番つらかったですね。
This is Peace Memorial Park. It was a bustling commercial and residential area before the bombing. Even today, missing victims lie under this soil. There remains nothing but powdery ash in the rubble. This stone platform shows ground level before the bombing. On the plaque are engraved the names of only a few of the victims who lived in this neighborhood. Most visitors to the park have no idea that they are walking on the dead. A 5-year-old boy yells, "Take me too," to the soldier carrying away his mother's body. Mother and child lie together in front of the store she had been tending. 5 family members had been sitting around their breakfast table. The bomb explodes during a phone conversation. All that remains is a hand still clutching the receiver.
何のも我々も罪もない人間をね、定断して、何のためにね、銃も何も持っとらん我々を殺さんにゃいけんのかと。
戦争そのものがあってはならない。原爆っていうものは何代も、私の主人も被爆者です。
私の苦しい思いを思ったらですね、絶対核の使用なんかはもう二度と絶対に許してはならない。
まあ会うたもんじゃなきゃ分からんですね、これは。この話してね、ついでいけるもんじゃないです、これは。
戦争がもたらした原因で、しかもそれが初めてね、日本で使われたという原爆で、あれだけのひどいことで、もうそれはもう家も財産も家族も全部とにかくなくしてしまったということで、だからまあそれはそういうことは絶対あっちゃいけないことなんですよね。
原爆という今までにない兵器で遺伝子まで壊されるっていう化学破壊兵器でもってそれが実験的あるいは実行的に落とされたわけだけど、
まあ原爆に殺されたというんですか、まあそういうことはもう被爆者というのはあんまりその被爆体験をねこれ話さないもんですから。
戦争いうよりも虐殺ってこれはまあ核兵器いうのはその時に限らずいまだに苦しんでる人も随分いらっしゃるし、
原子爆弾のような核のもの絶対に生きていけんのに、それがどうしてか思って本当に会うたもんでないと分からんのじゃ思いますよ。
戦争を早く終わらせるために仕方なかったという声を、アメリカ側から聞きますけど、それはどうなんだろうかという気がしますね。
原爆っていうのは本当にもう人類を絶滅させる兵器ですから、絶対に核兵器は使ってはいけないし、
その原爆の辛さ、皆さんの辛さ、まだまだこの年になっても忘れることはできません。平和であってほしいと思います。
I have shown you the truth about Hiroshima, the reality of the atomic bombing. It must never be forgotten. It must never be repeated. When we forget that day, that's when it will happen. again.